He grew up with little formal schooling and never traveled beyond a few counties. But Abraham Lincoln was suffused with an overreaching sense of purpose. When others taunted him that he was wasting his time reading and writing, quote unquote, not end quote, unquote, young Abe answered, quote, I will study and get ready, and someday my chance will come, unquote. In books he found wise counselors that shaped his aspirations before the world had yet heard of him. Quote, the things I want to know are in books, unquote, young Abraham told those who doubted him. And a quote again, my best friend is the man who will get me a book, G-I-T. I ain't read, unquote. Too poor to buy books, Lincoln borrowed them, once walking 40 miles to get one. At least that's the story. Cousin Dennis and John Hanks, by the way, Tom Hanks is the direct descendant of that line. I'm not kidding, Nancy Hanks was his mother, who shucked corn and split rails with Lincoln from sunup to sundown, thought there was something peculiarsome in Abe, quote unquote. John Hanks said, and I'm quoting, when Abe and I came back to the house from work, he'd go to the cupboard, snatch a piece of cornbread, sit down, take a book, stick his legs up as high as his head, and read in front of a fireplace till midnight, unquote. As a young man, Abraham Lincoln steeped himself in the rhetoric of the classical authors, the wisdom of Aesop, the music of the King James Bible, and the expansive humanity of William Shakespeare, John Bunyan, Daniel Defoe, and Robert Burns. Happen to be among my four favorites myself. By the time he became president, he had developed a luminous prose style of his own. Simple, clear, precise, forceful, rhythmic, poetic, and at times majestic. John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Ulysses S. Grant, who wrote the greatest memoir of the Civil War, great story there, because he was dying of throat cancer, and some presidents since possessed surpassing verbal skills, but as his best, Lincoln towered above them all. The critic Jacques Barzon called him a literary genius. On November 19th, 1863, Abraham Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address, the most memorable and memorized speech in American history. With but 272 words, President Lincoln transformed a gruesome battle into the raison d'etre, sorry Bob, but it's the best I can do, on a truly United States, italics united, that for the first time in its history became a union. It really hadn't been before. Before Lincoln, people said and wrote, the United States are. Ever after, it would be the United States is. That same day at Gettysburg, Edward Everett, former Secretary of State, president of Harvard, famed for his oratory, spoke close to 2 hours. That's what they did back then. 2 hours, one guy, 3 months to memorize it, very classical Latin and so on. And that was the Gettysburg Address, really. That's what the newspapers advertised, and there would be remarks by the president. So, at any rate, spoke for close to 2 hours, while Lincoln took scarcely more than 2 minutes. Afterwards, Everett took Lincoln aside and told him, quote, my speech will soon be forgotten, yours never will. How gladly would I exchange my 100 pages for your 20 lines.
Wow, how generous.
Well, there's more, but I love the wow. Thank you so very much. Wow is a palindrome. Oh, actually, wait a minute. Wow is a palindrome. Each letter has left-right symmetry. The O is quadrant symmetry, hence bilateral. Look at the